ironically, right around the time of my diagnosis, it was a few days before, I competed in the World Fat Bike Championships in Leadville, and I felt really strong during the race. It was cold, it was windy, it was adverse. I got to my car, and it was in the middle of actually the diagnosis process for the cancer. I hadn't found out yet. I called my wife, and my first question to her was, how in the world could I have cancer when I just went out there and blew up the course on my fat bike? I felt great.
And here we go. This is the Human Reboot Project. This is episode number 1 with Tom Strause. And Tom, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. And for folks who are just listening in for the first time, you don't know what this podcast is about, that's okay, because this is our very first podcast. And so we're going to learn more about what this podcast is all about. But it basically boils down to meeting extraordinary people who have had extraordinary circumstances come their way, often no choice of their own, how they've overcome those circumstances, and then talk a little bit more about some of the amazing things that they have done, both pre and post event. So please welcome Tom Strause.
Hello.
Hey, Tom. So Tom, I'll start by welcoming you to the Head and Neck Cancer Thriver group. I know that's something when you reached out to me that you shared with me, that you are a head and neck cancer survivor. So why don't we start there, and then we'll sort of maybe dig into a little bit more of some of the extraordinary things that you've done, especially on the bike, and maybe some things that I don't know about that you have done that you might want to share. So do you want to just maybe sort of start with your origin story of finding out that you had head and neck cancer?
Sure. I've been a person that historically has been in really good health. For instance, I went 26 years in the corporate world without ever calling in sick. My body always performed really well, whether I was exercising or simply living my life. So January 16th, 2024, I woke up and I had an extremely large swollen lymph node on the right side of my neck. And I had never experienced anything like that before. And I just passed it off that maybe my body was simply fighting off an infection or something of that sort. So I gave it a couple of days and it only got bigger. So I contacted my doctor. He brought me in right away and was very suspicious in the beginning of that being cancer. So they ordered up an MRI and then a PET scan and other assorted blood work, and diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma. And I had a 2-inch tumor that was back behind my right tonsil area. Mm-hmm. And so essentially it was off to the races at that point with chemo and radiation, and it changed my life.
Yeah. So that, I can relate 100%. That sounds very, very much like my own story and my own experience with head and neck cancer. Felt great. No real adverse symptoms other than I kept getting some sinus infections, and this lump kept appearing on the side of my neck. And I think you probably would agree with me on this one, right? This is one of these things where, like, don't ignore these things, folks, as you know, especially as we get older, but at any age, if there's something wrong with your body that's like really out of sorts, then go see your doctor.
Yeah, I think that's really the key message, is to intervene early. And the other message too is that you really need to know your body. And I think with all the athletics that I've participated in the past, I know my body well. I know when changes come up, and you just really need to be aware of that and tackle things early. I can't explore that enough.
Yeah, and I know that you're a cyclist and an athlete, and we're going to talk a lot about that, because I've got a lot of questions for you around that. but it sounds like, and I think you even said this, that you were in great health. I'm guessing it was in the. Are you a skier or snowboarder? Were you out doing the winter sports thing, or are you a 12 months of the year type of cyclist guy?
I do ski a little bit over the winter time. Ironically, right around the time of my diagnosis, it was a few days before, I competed in the World Fat Bike Championships in Leadville, and I felt really strong during the race. It was cold, it was windy, it was adverse. I got to my car, and it was in the middle of actually the diagnosis process for the cancer. I hadn't found out yet. I called my wife, and my first question to her was, how in the world could I have cancer when I just went out there and blew up the course on my fat bike? I felt great.
Wow. So now that's something I just learned. You and I have been competitors.
Ah,
I was up there that year as well. Did you ride a single speed fat bike?
no, I did not. I had
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I'll have to go back and look and see how badly you beat me that day. But that was a lot of fun. That was a Leadville knows how to put on an event or two, don't they?
It was a blast. It was really a fun event.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious. Did you stop it? There was that last corner before the finish line where they were giving out bacon and bourbon shots. Did you stop, or were you the consummate athlete and just kept going?
Oh, I was in race mode. I thanked them and passed them around at the same time.
I don't think I stopped. I was tempted a couple of times. I think maybe I grabbed a piece of bacon, but yeah, that was an amazing event. I hope it comes back to Leadville. The drive to Crested Butte, which I think was where it was this year, is just a little bit too far for me this winter. So
Would have to agree with that, and I think the race is coming back this January.
okay, well, we'll get a chance to go head to head again. So
Right.
I'll have to look again. I'll have to look at the results and see how much extra training I need to do, so I can maybe keep up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to back to the diagnosis. I think you told me in the email you opted, or your doctors recommended. So I guess it was stage 2
Yeah.
cancer in terms of the staging of the cancer, which people who don't know, cancer is generally stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. The bigger the number, sort of I'm not a medical person, but really sort of the worse along you are, and probably the more aggressive your treatment's going to need to be. But chemo and radiation is nothing to shake a stick at. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was given a treatment course over 8 weeks that consisted of 35 radiation treatments interspersed with 3 rounds of chemo. And the treatment started out, you go into it with a lot of apprehension and how's it going to destroy my body and a lot of other questions like that. In the first week or so, it really wasn't that bad, believe it or not. Chemo is pretty destructive on your digestive system and things of that sort. But it radiation into your neck just gets horrible as the time goes on. And so toward the end of it, I couldn't eat solid food. And I was struggling with keeping weight on and all sorts of other things.
Yeah. Did they make you a mask for your radiation treatment?
They did.
Yeah.
The nice rubberized plastic mask.
Yeah. I don't know if you could. Mine is back there in the corner still.
Yeah.
We had actually at my last support group I attended a couple of months ago, we got into a conversation about what people did with their mask, if they did anything. I obviously kept mine. I keep thinking I want to turn it into some sort of wall-mounted light fixture. But I'm curious, did you keep yours? Did you do anything like special ceremony with it when you were done?
Yeah, I kept it for a little while, and then it got recycled. But yeah, I actually look back on it, and I should have kept it because it was an interesting.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you don't ever have an opportunity to get another one. So
I think, as the story goes, I've received my lifetime dose of radiation, so I don't think I could get any more with it.
okay.
I hope the heck I don't need it. It does a lot.
Yeah. For sure. So, one of the things that I have often heard and would agree with 100% is that head and neck cancer is sort of that even though after you're done with all your treatments and stuff, it sort of just is the cancer that keeps on giving, or reminds you that it was there. So you mentioned the radiation to the neck. Like I, for one, I can't grow any facial hair right here on this part of my neck.
Right.
I wonder if you experienced that.
Yeah, I also have an issue on my right side as well. I used to be able to grow a pretty good beard. There's no possible way I could do that now. And there are other side effects that are there, such as the radiation zapped my salivary glands really heavily, and so I'm on medication to produce saliva, and it sort of works. It doesn't really work all that well.
Okay. Is this a prescription medicine, or are you just using like the biotin products?
It's a prescription medicine, and I also use.
Yeah. I don't have the prescription medicine. I do use a lot of the biotin products, especially the mouthwash. And something I don't know. Do you have trouble with like really dry mouth at night from sleeping?
Oh yeah, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my mouth will be a desert.
Yeah, there's a book by this gentleman named James Nestor called Breath or Breathe. I can't ever remember which one it is. I think it's Breath. And he talks about it's the art of breathing is really what he talks about. But one of the things that he talks about is mouth taping for sleeping to teach yourself to breathe through your nose. And I have started using like physio, that PT stretchy tape to tape my mouth shut at night. And that has done wonders in terms of keeping my mouth much more moist, because I'm not drying out the little bit of saliva that I have throughout the course of the evening. So
that's a good idea. I'll have to give that a go.
Yeah. It's definitely weird. And my wife, it kind of freaks her out when I roll over to kiss her goodnight, and I've got this blue tape. Yeah. I don't even, I got to where I don't need a really big piece. And for a while it was big because I kept forcing my mouth open at night. But now I'm down to like a 3-inch strip of it. So, yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot. So I would have. I told you before we started the podcast that I sort of tried to stalk you on social media and on the internet to find out more about some of the amazing stuff that you've done. Sure. And there's not a lot of information out there, but I did find your Instagram account, which has your last post was November 16th, 2023. And I just want to read most of it because this will give our listeners and viewers an idea of what an amazing athlete you are. And this is, so 2023 is post-cancer, but that pre-cancer, but it has not slowed you. It doesn't seem like cancer has done much to slow you down. So this is what you wrote. It's been quite a year. These were my major races. I feel blessed to have won my third World Championship jersey in the 24-hour World Time Trial Championships, a 5th Leadville 100 finish. That's the mountain bike, right? Not the run, correct? A triple bypass finish, which if you don't know the triple bypass, it's a 118-mile ride here in Colorado that goes over 10,000 feet of climbing, right? About almost 11,000 feet of climbing. Silver Rush 50, which is the baby Leadville, and I've heard people say that they think that the Silver Rush is actually harder than the 100 because everybody goes twice or 3 times as hard. And then you also completed the Steamboat Gravel 142-mile black course on a soul-crushing hot day. And I was up there not racing it, but supporting a friend, and I rode part of the course. And I think I only did 50 miles out and back, and that was brutal. And for 2024, I've accepted an entry offer into the Unbound Gravel Extra Large, which is a 350-mile self-supported gravel race in Kansas with a 36-hour time limit. This is the World Series of gravel racing. More on that later, but my training has already, I think you meant to say already started. So I'm a 2-time Unbound finisher, the 200-mile message, and I can't even imagine doing the 350. So maybe we'll start there. Did you actually get to do that one, or did cancer get in the way of that?
Cancer got in the way of it. I lost 20 pounds of weight, which I didn't have 20 pounds to lose. So it was essentially cannibalizing muscle. And it took me the best part of a year actually to put that back in a logical way. And you know, anybody can gain weight, but to do it in the right places and in the way, eating lots of protein and you know, doing you know, weights and everything else, it really, in looking back on it, the cancer really took a lot out of me, and it took a long time to rebuild that. So the 350 was off the table, but I went back this year and did the regular Unbound.
Nice. On the single speed?
This was on a regular geared gravel bike.
Okay. Still an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations. And yeah, I don't remember. Was the weather agreeable this year at Unbound?
The weather was fantastic, actually. It had rained, I think 3 days in a row, a couple days before the race. So there was a little bit of water on the course, but not enough to create the toxic mud that can occur out there, which I'm very thankful of. I mean, if it was the day before, it would have been really muddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and the temperature itself was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. That when that gravel and in and around the Emporia area turns to mud, it is next level. I've never seen. I grew up in South Georgia with like lots of red clay.
Sure. Yeah.
But this is like cement with flecks of flint, which if you know is basically like glass to your tires and your body and your bike. So
Yeah, it'll really screw you up.
yeah. All right. Well, so let's talk a little bit about all these three. Is it still three, or do you have four world championships now?
I have three, and actually over the years, I currently own two world championships, but I've lost one, which is a single speed overall 24. I lost that to a 27-year-old kid from Canada.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 65.
Okay. Yeah. No shame in losing to a 27-year-old. So.
But still close enough to where I want to go back and beat him.
Okay. All right. Do you remember his name?
I'd have to look it up. Tyler something.
Okay. Well, Tyler, this you've been warned. Thomas is coming for you. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, I mean, what you know, I've ridden single speeds on and off my entire cycling career, but I've never done, I think maybe 60, 70 miles is probably the most that I've ever done on a single speed. And that was probably on the road on my cross bike. What got you going on mountain biking, road cycling on a single speed for super long distances?
It's the challenge. When you ride a single speed out there, everybody thinks you're crazy to begin with. But you really learn a lot about yourself, about momentum. It's the bike of truth. It's you against the one gear that you choose. So choose wisely. I just like the simplicity of it, and really the extra challenge behind it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the 24-hour road championships on a single speed. Is it really it brings simplicity to the whole race. Really, you can't deal with
Yeah. Well, it's one less thing to think about, right? An hour 20 or whatever, right? Yeah. Hey, so for the bike nerds out there, why don't you maybe talk a little bit about like your setup for something like the 24-hour road world championships?
So I have a Specialized Venge road bike, which is not a pure time trial bike, but it's very aero. So the tubes are tapered, head tubes tapered. I have 80 millimeter rims on it, so they're aero rims. A really nice aero bar. So on first glance, it looks like a geared kind of quasi time trial bike. And then I still have the rear derailleur on the bike, and it's just simply a chain tensioner. The cables have all been pulled out of it and everything else, so it's a legal single speed. So after lots of practice and lots of stops and starts, I came up with a really good gear combination for the course for the World Championships. And so I run a 48 tooth chain ring up in front and a 20 tooth in the back.
Okay.
There's each lap of that course is 18 miles long, and there are 350 feet of climbing per lap. So in the course of 24 hours, you're going to climb, 7,000 feet.
Wow. Wow. And I think I've actually seen of YouTube with the vegan cyclist, if you're familiar with
Oh, yeah,
him.
very
Yeah,
familiar.
I think he came out there and did not the single speed, but just did the time trial 20, because that's all happens on the same course. Am I correct in thinking that?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay.
Right.
And it's the same course every year.
Same course every year. And so it's an 18-mile loop during the day up until the last hour and a half. And then they channel you off onto a 4.5-mile course just to finish up so you can burn a bunch of quick laps to try to increase your mileage.
Okay.
The challenge of the course, I've done it 6 times, is wind. Out in the desert in Southern California, you can get some pretty substantial, especially crosswinds out of the mountain valleys.
Sure.
And last year, for instance, the wind was coming through at 40 miles an hour in gusts. And with 80 millimeter deep dish, I was literally leaning my bike over a certain number of degrees to keep myself from getting blown over because I was leaning
Wow.
to the wind.
Right.
And the peril with that is if a truck goes by or some high-profile vehicle, because the course isn't closed, it takes that wind and nullifies it. So you're either going to crash or you have to go back vertical again and then go back really quickly into your lean. So
Sure.
a lot of
Wow.
work. A lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And so what is so basically you basically have a time trial bike with a single speed
Yeah.
and probably set up for there's a certain amount of comfort there as well, I would assume, in terms of saddle and padding on your aero bars. Anything that you do special to keep yourself comfortable?
Yeah. I went through when I first purchased the bike, and then right before I raced the first time when I went to single speed, I did a really quality bike fitting with it. And so we were adjusting things down to the millimeter. And so the bike fits like a glove. And I have a particular saddle that I use, not only on that bike, but on my other bikes, my other gravel bikes, my mountain bikes, all those things.
Sure.
It works for me. So I have that on there. And then also the handlebar has an integrated aero bar into it. So it's all very aero and it puts you in a really nice position. And it has, padded elbow rest on the top of the bar. And those
Right. Right. And so do you have any type of sponsorships, or is this all coming out of your pocket because you just really love riding in circles for 24 hours?
I have a quasi sponsorship through Specialized. And
Okay.
quasi, I mean, it just depends on the year and how Specialized sponsorship budget goes. I'm certainly not a 25-year-old professional racer, so I'm not going to see the amount of support that somebody like that would. But nonetheless, when I buy product, I receive a discount.
Okay.
I've had sponsorships in the past with Hammer Nutrition and other components, SRAM, and
Yeah. Yeah, I would think every single bike company, bike accessory manufacturer, nutrition company would want a 3-time world champion on their roster. So yeah, maybe when you win your 4th this year, they'll yeah. And I actually have in my notes. It says, I thought maybe you told me this, that you're a 2-person single speed record holder as well. Is that
that's
like
part of the record base. I have a very good friend, Vet Crockle, that I've raced with all over the world, in Australia and Canada and the United States. And she and I decided to team up last year. And she is a very accomplished woman. She's 60 years old. And so we did an over 60 team and actually beat everybody regardless of age. So
wow.
So we hold that record too.
Well, do you know who Peter Attia is? Are you familiar with him? Yeah. I sort of like thinking like, oh, if Peter Attia was on this podcast with us right now, he'd be like, Tom, you're doing it all right. You're going to live a good, long, healthy life with the amount of fitness that you're piling on. So, were y'all a tandem team? Were you on a tandem together, like a tandem single speed, or a you're like a relay team.
We were a relay team.
Okay. Wow. And what was as a relay team, how many miles did y'all cover?
We covered 320 miles.
320 miles. And then as the solo rider, when you've won, what's the longest distance you've covered?
My solo record is on a single speed is 324 miles.
Wow.
On a geared bike, it's 369.1.
Wow. And those are either one of those or both those world records?
The 324 is.
The single speed?
Bike record is not.
Okay.
That's it. PR.
Amazing. What about talk to me a little bit about your support crew? What does that look like? And then I'd also like to after support crew, because I'm sure part of what they do is hand you food. what does nutrition look like on the bike?
Sure. I have a support crew of 2 people, and a lot of times over the years in Borrego Springs, where the worlds are held, we've had my friend Yvette Crockel's daughter and our friend Hank Minnie, who we've raced with for 25 years, give or take. So both of them understand very closely what we need, and they're just on it 24 hours a day. In very short order, as a crew person, you learn how fast your riders are. So you learn when you need to be in the support zone, handing off bottles and nutrition and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So both of these individuals, Hank and Kayla, are just foolproof. So
yeah,
they've been good.
And they probably have it dialed, like if one of them needs to take a nap, the other stays awake, and vice versa. And
exactly, those 2 are a good team unto themselves.
Yeah.
And one of the inside knowledge things that occurs when you've done a lot of 24s is you understand what your battery burn time is, what your nutrition needs are, and those sorts of things. So what I try to do is spreadsheet it all out and give it to my crew person. So when I come in at, say, 10 o'clock at night, they know I need a light change and I need a bottle and I need regular solid nutrition. And so we'll have that all dialed in ahead of time. So there's no guesswork. I don't have to sit around for 5 minutes trying to figure out things.
I'm sure that's key, especially when obviously time, even though you have 24 hours, time is still of the essence, right?
Sure.
Yeah. What and then are you, in terms of what you're eating, are you sticking to sort of like the traditional, like what people think of as like sport nutrition, gels, high carb drink mixes, or do you use like, man, I need a pizza at 10 o'clock at night, or turkey sandwich? What does that look like?
So in shorter races, I stick strictly to what I call race food, gels, bars, etc., and liquid nutrition at times. In a 24-hour race, your body craves different things at different times. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, many times the gel is the last thing your body needs and that you want. So I do have a mixture of race food that I will keep in a bag on my top tube that I can nibble on. And then as the race goes on, I start eating a little more solid food here and there, such as, I know this sounds awful to some people, but I'll take a piece of string cheese and I'll wrap it in a flour tortilla. And so you have carbs and protein and it tastes good.
Yeah.
So
that's one of my go-tos for bike packing is I'll just carry a bag of tortillas, string cheese, some of those little tuna packets as well. Now, granted, I have the luxury of bike packing, of stopping and making a spread on the side of the trail versus trying to eat it on the bike. But I get tortillas. If it can be wrapped in a tortilla, I'll eat it. So,
amen.
What's the strangest thing that you found yourself craving out there on the bike, or maybe have eaten on the bike? Because I personally don't find tortillas and string cheese weird at all. So is there something else that you've like sent your crew to get in the middle of the night because you were just craving it?
Absolutely. About, I don't know, a year or two before COVID, at about 10 o'clock at night, I was craving pizza. So I had my crew go out and purchase a large pizza, and they came back and I ate the whole pizza one slice at a time through the remainder of the race.
Wow.
And it tasted wonderful, but it was just too greasy to be adequate race. So that was a one and done.
Is that something you paid for in the next 24 hours?
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Um, so, other than the 24-hour single speed events that you've participated in, I know that you're it's 5 or 6 time Leadville finisher now.
5 time.
5 time. And this past year, I think even though you were done with your treatments, definitely the cancer came back to sort of say no go on this one. You want to talk a little bit about that Leadville and
Sure.
but what maybe you learned about it? I assume you're coming back next year or this in 2026.
I am. I volunteer every single year for the Leadville organization for the stage race. So those hours usually give me an automatic entry. So
Sure.
I'm 26. What happened? It's really a factor of losing the 20 pounds of muscle. I couldn't put it on adequately between the end of my treatment, which was April 25th of 2024, and the race, which was the second weekend in August. So I rode as far as I could. I gave it a good go, but I was up, probably to 11,000 feet on Columbine. And my body just decided, I've had enough. And I turned around and went back and DNF'd at Twin Lakes.
Yeah.
So,
Know thyself, and no shame in that. It's just bike racing, right? And and the goal is to live to fight another day. So, looking forward to lining up with you in 2026 for sure. So,
good.
yeah. I'll be going for my 5th, and you'll be going for your 6th. So, yeah.
So,
What's your fastest Leadville time?
so I kind of get into ultra endurance mode, and I'm not the fastest guy out there, but I'm an 11-hour guy.
Okay, so five belt buckles on the rack then.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
They're sitting
Um,
right behind me.
what? Oh, I do see them now. Yeah, on the
Yeah.
frame. And so you listed off some other races in that Instagram post that I read. But what else are you doing 24-hour, 12-hour, 6-hour races all the time, or do you mix it up? Are you up there in you're in Fort Collins, right?
I'm in Fort Collins.
Yeah, are you up there doing cyclocross, kart racing? What does the rest of the season look like for you?
So the Fort Collins community is, we're an avid cycling community. There are a lot of opportunities to race. And so I do things such as Foco Fondo, which is a 100 to 120, depending on the year, mile gravel race that goes up from Fort Collins almost to the Wyoming border and up through the foothills. And so I like to do races like that. I am here and there cyclocross racing. I actually end up flying to various states and doing mountain bike racing a little bit in Northern California, and just doing my race calendar. So I especially over the summertime, have a pretty full calendar of racing, whether it's Unbound Gravel or the various Leadville events. I like the Silver Rush, and yes, as you stated earlier, it's my opinion it is harder than the 100. And so, I pardon me, I try to throw in every single year something new
Okay.
that I haven't done before.
Okay. So what's new for 2026?
2026, what my plan is to go down to south of us and do the 24 hours of Old Pueblo.
Okay. I've heard good things about that. It's like it seems like there's not a. I can remember, and I'm a little younger than you, but so I bet you remember. Is it like for a while? Like I guess it was maybe the early 90s when like it seemed like there was a 24-hour mountain bike race every single weekend somewhere, and there's not many of them left. So, and I think Old Pueblo is one has sort of almost like the grandfather of 24-hour racing now.
Right. Yeah, 24-hour races. You're absolutely right. They went through a heyday from the 90s to probably right around 2010. And then they started fading off. And nowadays, I think that, the flavor of the month is gravel racing. So people really are into that and doing, even ultra distance races, whether it's Ride at the Divide or Unbound and other races that are there's so many across the United States now. They've really taken over for
Yeah.
24-hour mountain biking used to be.
Yeah. So I guess we've gone from calling them 24-hour races to just ultras, whether it's running or.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, so 24, and you're doing that solo or is with a team?
Oh, I would do that solo.
Okay. Okay. I've heard that there's a type of cactus down there that if you crash into them, you basically need a pair of pliers to remove.
Yeah. That just sounds awful, but I've heard it all. And the other factor too is those that ride off course end up paying for it in their tires.
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure. I am sure. And then I actually did a 6-hour race this summer. I'm wondering if you're familiar with the one I'm blank, the Royal Gorge. There's the 12 and 12, 6. Have you done that one?
I have not.
Yeah.
It's a pretty significant drive for us from here.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I certainly will. Wonder. The other thing I would like to do again, I competed before in the world solo 24-hour mountain bike championships, both in the United States and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm 65, I'm up in the final age group, and I'd like to go give that a go sometime. And they've pulled those races in Europe, Australia, Brazil. They move the race around.
Sure.
So I'll have to figure that one out. But I would.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do. I'm sure no matter what, you're gonna fare well. So, no. So let's circle back to the cancer a little bit, and the treatment and the losing the weight, which I experienced the same thing. I didn't go out and try to do Leadville. I went and tried to bike pack the Colorado Trail and paid dearly for it. I started in Durango, made it past Silverton, and ended up turning around and going back to Silverton because I realized that my thing was I wasn't able to eat enough. And I'm sure there was a lot. Also, I'd lost a lot of weight. I was like about 150 pounds. Normally I'm around 160, 165. But yeah, I still had so many sores in the back of my throat. It was really hard to eat enough out there on the trail. So I'm wondering for you, what are some of those what have you had to change in terms of you've mentioned weightlifting, or do you lift more now? I mean, have you changed anything in your routine or your exercise programs to sort of, I don't say compensate, but maybe to get you back to where you were?
My training in kind of preparation for races of life and everything else post cancer involved a lot of like leg presses and squats, and really trying to retone my lower body. I think that's where most of the weight is lost. I went from 150 pounds to 128 at my life, which I was just a shell of myself, I think. So it took a significant amount of those sorts of exercises, and then a lot of time on the bike and a lot of hill repeats and just whatever I could do to stress my lower body to build muscle. And at this stage, being over 60, it's harder, of course, to build muscle than if you're 25 years old.
Sure.
So that was kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah. What about they say often I'm a big fan of Joel Friel, the coach up in Boulder. He's written the Bible, literally the cycling training Bible, as well as written some great books around training for masters. And one of the things that he talks about often is taking more time off the bike to actually recover. Have you, not just necessarily with cancer, but as you've gotten older, have you found that to be true?
Actually, possibly to my detriment. I still exercise 6 days a week, and it's really my mental and physical therapy. And I can be in the worst mood ever, and if I get on my bike, a half hour later, I feel just completely rejuvenated. So some of those rides are really hard training rides, and others are simply going out and enjoying nature.
Sure. So recovery ride then, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just
Fair, yeah, yeah. Fair
yeah.
enough. What about during your treatments? Were you able to keep on riding?
So one of the really big benefits of where I treated at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Loveland, there through Banner Health, um, is I ended up with both a radiation oncologist and a general oncologist that was involved with my chemo, and they were both ultra endurance athletes. I mean, imagine that.
In Colorado, imagine
Yeah.
that, right?
Um, so they took the time to really learn who I was before the treatment started. And both of them, without fail, said, do not stop writing. And I was running at the time as well because I was training for some 10Ks and a half marathon. And they said, do not stop running. And you may not be the fastest person on your feet or on your bike or whatever, but just don't stop. It'll be the best thing for maintaining as much muscle mass as you can maintain, and then also just your mental health. And
Yeah.
they were so right about that. And I never stopped. And there were times when, I wasn't riding very fast, but I was out there doing it, and it was really the best thing ever. And it was good advice because a lot of people were telling me, "Oh, you need to rest. You need to be, sitting on the couch and all that other stuff." And that's not me at all. That would have driven me insane.
Yeah, I think that is often. Obviously, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical anything other than I've been a medical patient more than I've ever wanted to be. Um, but it seems to me like that adage of like, oh, you just need to rest, has really changed, and it's often sort of what you were just talking about. Still get out there, do what you're comfortable doing. You don't need to, push yourself to the ends of of the earth, but it does your body, does your head
Right.
a ton of good. Yeah. What if you're comfortable talking about that? I mean, I actually, I started doing things that I never thought I would do when I was going through my treatments, like blogging and sharing with how I was feeling with people. My wife said that she goes, "You're so much more open now." I'm just wondering if you're comfortable maybe talking a little bit about that mental side of going through cancer and dealing with cancer, because I think we often think of cancer, which it is, a physical disease, but like a lot of major illnesses, or injuries, there's so much more than just the physical that's going on.
Sure. I found it very cathartic to talk about my treatment, my status, my condition. And I went through it as completely an open book with people. If they asked me a question, I gave them an honest answer about it. And I think part of it is it was good for me to talk about it, but the other part was around the fact that if I can provide knowledge to somebody out there to allow them to be an early intervener in their own cancer or their own physical ailment, then that's really providing a public service. And so I found myself writing, blogging, doing, talking, all those things at the same time. Some people, of course, crawl within themselves in a situation like that, and I can't judge somebody for that, but that wasn't me.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes I would sort of talking to people about it. It was like, they just want that. They're used to that. Oh, I'm doing better type response. And then when you're like, oh, and let me tell you about this, let me tell you about that. They're like, whoa, I didn't know you were going to unload on me. It's like, I'm not unloading. I'm just sharing.
Right.
And I didn't ask, but was your cancer HPV related, or did they trace it to something else?
No, it was HPV related, which I was very thankful because it's more treatable and you have a higher success rate and all those things. So
Yeah. 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 That's good. I mean, it's good to hear that it was HPV related, because to your point, it is much more treatable. Chances of recurrence are a lot less than some of those cancers that are caused by smoking and excessive alcohol drinking. So that's good to hear. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I was when my doctor said, "Oh, it's HPV related," I was like, HPV, that's what causes cervical cancer. And he's like, and head and neck cancer and 4 or 5 other types of cancer. And
Right.
that really sent me down I don't say a rabbit hole. I just had time on my hands. I had a surgery. And so I spent some time where I literally could do nothing but sit on the sofa or in the recliner and started reading more about HPV related cancers. And I was like, hold on, this is preventable.
Right. Right.
It's I mean, it's one of the reasons I was doing this podcast is because it's sort of, I'm continuously looking for a bandwagon or a soapbox to get up on to talk to people about how they can prevent certain types of cancers. And the HPV vaccine for kids between ages 9 and 11, it's 2 doses, super easy, highly studied vaccine that is highly effective. So yeah, I appreciate you just coming on and sharing your story as well. And it's just really crazy how many parallels mine and your stories have, whether it's we were lining up to race each other in 2024 and didn't know it, to going out too hard after our treatments thinking that we were unchanged by our cancer and could still do what we always have done. So, but it sounds like you're on your way to doing what you've always done, Tom, which was awesome. And you're headed to the World Championships again on Thursday. Is that right?
I fly out for San Diego on Thursday, and the race starts at 5 p.m. on Friday.
Wow.
So 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I really enjoy racing into the night right away like that.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm sure that you've got lots of packing to do, but before we say goodbye, I would like to. I have I call it pop quiz, and so I have a couple of quick questions for you, and you just first thing that comes to mind. So, your favorite trail to mountain bike on?
It would be
or favorite area?
The Tahoe Rim Trail that loops around Lake Tahoe, because you're 2,500 feet, give or take, above the lake, and you just have this gigantic panoramic view.
Yeah, I've done that. Can't argue with that one. That is definitely a good one. What about your favorite race? Is it the 24-hour race, or is there something else that you really love?
My favorite race of all time, I think, was the 24-hour mountain bike championships in Canberra, Australia. We were riding with kangaroos on the trail and all sorts of other things. I felt like I was riding in a zoo.
Crocodiles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they're down off the coast, but
okay.
They weren't on the.
Okay.
Thank.
All right. And beer or coffee?
Beer.
Okay. And so, since we're here in Colorado, but I think, are you from California originally? Is that right?
Originally, yeah.
Which also has some really good breweries. So, what's your favorite brewery or your favorite beer then?
I am partial to Horse and Dragon Brewery here in Fort Collins, and I love their coffee stout.
All right, keeping it local. It's called Horse and
Dragon.
Horse and Dragon. If you're listening, there's a great sponsorship opportunity for you with a 3-time world champion, maybe 4 times coming up soon. And then here's the next. I got 2 more for you. So you're on a 6-hour training ride. You run out of food halfway through your training ride, and you only have a $10 bill to spend at the convenience store. What do you buy to get you home?
I buy liquids first. And second of all, I would buy something like Payday candy bars or other assorted bars that might be available in the store.
All right. So no Big Gulp and like a two for $1 Death Dogs.
Yeah, there we go. Big old hot dog.
Yeah. And so when you're on the bike, do you listen to music or podcast, or neither? Nothing.
I listen to nature.
Okay, the whole time, 24 hours, just the gears ticking over, and
the whole time.
Yeah.
But
That's.
I have an unlimited iPod really in my brain, so sometimes I'll click through different songs and kind of play them in my head. I
Okay. Okay. All right. Favorite song you like to sing to yourself then?
That would be Moody blues in your wildest dreams.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was thinking, since you've come out the other side of cancer, maybe it would be Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive."
Well, that one too.
You're welcome. You're welcome to use that on this week when you're out there. Yeah. And if it pops in your head, you have to let me know that. Hey, thanks for sticking that song in my head, Jay.
Another song I really like is "One Moment in Time" by Whitney Houston. She
Okay.
that was her Olympic anthem in way back in the Seoul Olympics, I believe that she did.
Okay. All right. My wife when she hears this podcast, she's going to love to hear that. She loves Whitney Houston. So, yeah. Cool. Well, Tom, before we wrap things up, is there anything that you want to share or talk about that I forgot to ask you, or we haven't really talked a lot about. I mean, we talked a little bit about your support group, or your support crew, but if you want to give a shout out to people in your lives that sort of helps see you through this cancer stuff, this is the time.
Well, I'll shout out to my wife, Jerry Lynn. She was my co-pilot through this whole thing, and without her, I would have had a much harder time. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Tom, really appreciate you being on. As I said, this is episode number 1 of the Human Reboot Project, and I think I'm not even sure that you really needed a reboot. It sounds like you just sort of plowed right through cancer and have kept on doing what you do. So congratulations, and just thank you so much for taking some time to share with us today.
I appreciate that. No, it's good to talk to a fellow survivor.
Yeah, I hope we get to do some riding together now that we're have discovered that we're less than 2 hours apart, and I look forward to at least lining up against you at the Fat Bike World Championship. So
that would be fantastic.
That'd be awesome. Cool. All right, folks, that's a wrap, and thank you very much, and have a good one, and keep the rubber side down.
Thank you.